as we continue Jim Valvano's fight against cancer.
Wichita State and KU for the 41st time all-time. KU trying to get to 34-7 in the all-time series. They lead it by 8 here at the half. And we alluded to this just a little bit ago, Tracy, that KU kind of sneakily made 7 out of their last 9 field goals in the quarter. They only got 11 shots off, due in large part to turning the ball over a little too much, I'm sure, for Coach Snyder's liking. As close as this is, it could be worse for Wichita State if they hadn't been so active defensively.
Absolutely. And, you know, they have, the Jayhawks have 9 assists on 14 made shots. That's a phenomenal stat. So they're doing it as a team and not by just one individual.
Speaking of individually, Samaya Nichols leading all scorers with 10 points. Treasure Jobe has 6 for Wichita State. And the rebounding battle has gone Wichita State's way. There you see the shooting percentage for KU. That is ridiculously good for a road game. But again, they're only 8 of 11 in the second quarter, due in large part to 5 turnovers that kept Wichita State hanging around.
Yeah, and so Wichita State's going to have to, you know, create some extra turnovers or extra possessions, and they've done it by rebounding the ball very well. I think they need to do a better job of containing and not have the bad turnovers out in the perimeter, because that's what's led to easy baskets. And they can't just trade baskets with the Jayhawks because they're too good.
So Wichita State down 8, no individual foul problems to speak of. Melanie Yankin has a couple, and a Jayhawk reserve has a couple of fouls. So Wichita State will at least have a full complement of ammunition going into the second half, it would seem.
Yeah, and they're within striking distance. You know, they played very well. The end of the first quarter and the start of the second quarter, they had a string of 3 turnovers in a row, which hurt them. That led to some easy buckets. But if they can reduce those, continue to use the shot offensively. I don't think that the shot clock, I don't think they can rush. They've got to use as much of the clock as they can, because the Jayhawks can score, and they can score really quickly. So I think they got to lengthen the game and use all of the offensive shot clock to their advantage and keep going at them and try to get to the free throw line.
There's not much this core group of the Jayhawks hasn't seen after that long run in the postseason last year and all the seniors they have. More from Charles Cook Green after this.
And hands-on expertise.
The practical training I got in the field
Included the leadership skills I knew I needed.
which gave me the confidence
To bring about change in the lives of others.
Walden University set a course for change.
Top leagues and tournaments. Best stories in sports. On ESPN Plus.
It's V Week at ESPN, where we partner with the V Foundation to highlight the urgent need for cancer research. This is game-changing research that helps save lives. You can join the fight against cancer by visiting v.org/donate. 100% of your donation goes directly to cancer research. Since 1991, the overall cancer death rate has decreased by 33%. That means 3.8 million fewer cancer deaths since that time period. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men in the U.S. will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Early detection and diagnosis is key in a treatment plan for successes of all cancer types. Donate if you can, please. v.org/donate. Wichita State and the University of Kansas, for the 3rd year in a row. KU with a bit of a kind of a charge in momentum in that second quarter, where they piled up 18 points on 8 of 11 from the floor. Our keys to the second half for both clubs, and the first one certainly doesn't take a Hall of Fame coach to figure out to play through your best player and your star center, Tiana Jackson. She had a solid first half as usual, at 7 points, 3 block shots. But they've got to hit the boards a little more. Wichita State actually won the battle on the boards out-rebounded the Jayhawks in that first half. I'm sure Brandon Schneider pointed that out at halftime.
Right, and that's that is huge. I thought that's why they single-handedly kept them in the game. But you know, she's phenomenal. She just affects the game in so many ways, but you have to continue to go at her if you're WSU, and if you're KU, you got to keep going at her too. So it's kind of a two-headed monster.
Yep. Meanwhile, for Wichita State, one of their keys, they've got to stay aggressive in this thing. They only went to the free throw line 7 times in that first half. And again, it's easier said than done to go right at a shot blocker as supreme as Tiana Jackson is.
Right.
But they don't have any transition baskets either. Wichita State does. No fast break points. That certainly would help too.
Yeah, and you know, KU's done a really good job of taking care of the ball, but I think they need to be a little bit more aggressive on the perimeter. And like you said, kind of try to create some turnovers, some easy buckets, because if she's, you know, trailing you because you have a steal and a turnover, she can't block you. So they got to get some easy buckets.
And the other thing, too, Tracy, for Wichita State, you can't force any turnovers if you don't take some chances.
Correct.
So you got to be able to live with the consequences and maybe get out and get some transition buckets. Job had a really good look from 3 and couldn't knock it down. Wichita State will keep it. Shockers not a prolific three-point shooting team. They don't even really attempt a lot. They're just 1 out of 6 so far from long range. Thompson with the only triple so far.
And the Jayhawks play very aggressive defense. They try to get out and deny, and the Shockers got to do a better job of looking to backdoor and back cut aggressively and not just kind of hesitate on their backdoor cuts.
Boy, Albia showed Jackson the whole store, and she still blocked her shot. Good job by DJ McCarty. Reading the pass by Mayberry.
A lot of contact.
There was an opportunity for a transition bucket, make it 2 opportunities. Niankin couldn't cash in. Job had it poked away. Boy, there was 3 looks for Wichita State in that stifling defense by KU. Stood up. Nichols hits.
Wow. Oh, my goodness.
Samaya Nichols. 12 points, the true freshman.
She showed a little bit of everything. They did a really good job on the initial ball screen defensively against her, and then she rejected it, went back the same way with the spin, body control, and finished.
And I think we're going to time out on the floor. I'm not sure who called that. Terry Nooner must have.
Yeah.
We got a 30-second timeout. That'll be extended. So we got a timeout on the floor. Is KU with a double-digit lead.
Live sport.
For her young career against Houston Christian in the last timeout. 20 points, 4 rebounds on 8 of 14 from the floor. She may top it here this afternoon if she keeps going the way she is. 5 out of 6 from the floor, 12 points, 3 assists for the freshman from over the park, Samaya Nichols. Incredible talent for KU and just a freshman. That one's poked away, and KU trying to keep Wichita State at arm's length, but a Treasure Job steal and a really risky bounce pass tomorrow didn't find its target. That was a low percentage of success rate, but so KU has extended a first quarter lead of 3 up to 8 at halftime. They had the first 2 points here in the third quarter. This is the biggest lead of the game.
Yeah, Treasure tried to do a little bit too much there. She needs to make the simple play, not the All-American play.
Although, to our point, Tracy, we thought they needed some transition buckets.
Yeah,
that would have been one.
Good point.
Jackson banks it in. Set superior position on Jayla Murray. And now KU wants to take a quick 30-second timeout. Or, I don't know if I've seen 2 timeouts in the first 2.5 points of minutes of a quarter, but we have now.
Amanda?
Hi, Amanda. Come on in. Nice to finally meet you.
Thanks so much for inviting me in.
Come take a seat.
Buddies, I present to you the Kerwin Frost Box. I'll take that. Yo, buddies, let's get that box.
Almost showtime, I know.
Oh no! Go!
Come on, let's go. Hurry, everyone.
Let's go!
There he is, buddies. Get him.
Hey, buddy! There are boxes for everybody! There's more than everyone!
Coming to you from Frost Way, with a buddy and a meal in every box. The Kerwin Frost Box.
So Wichita State with 3 quick turnovers here in the third quarter. I think Terry Nooner saw Tracy that maybe his team's kind of teetering on the brink right now. So he called the timeout. There's another near turnover by Wichita State as well. What do you see from KU's defense that they are turning up the pressure?
Yeah, they've just been really aggressive. They're getting out in all the passing lanes. They're forcing the ball to be picked up early, and then they are denying all over the place. So just an excellent job of them, getting out and pressuring the ball.
Morrow with an offensive rebound for Wichita State. That saves a Shocker possession. It's 10 offensive rebounds now for WSU. That's keeping them in the game. But another turnover. This one a moving screen on Wichita State. And I was just getting ready to say, after the first timeout that we saw here in the quarter, Tracy, that when you play Kansas, I'm sure it seems like you're playing 5-on-7. There's always somebody in the passing lane. There's always somebody back there to protect the rim. Of course, that's Jackson, but I know that's a tactic coaches use a lot of time to work against pressure. 5 against 7, you use some of the managers and things like that. Boy, it seems like there's more than 5 KU players out there.
I know, because they're just so long, and their guards are quick, and they force you to start your offense so far away from the basket, which allows everybody else to really extend their defensive pressure. The one player KU that's been really quiet today for KU has been the Kirk Skeeter, and I really like her game, but she's really been held at bay and hasn't really gotten untracked offensively, but they've been able to have other kids step up and get that done for her.
Zakiya Franklin gets points number 4 and 5. She's been a little quiet as well. Franklin, the most experienced player, not only on this roster, but in the history of Kansas. Nobody's played more minutes at KU than Zakiya Franklin has, number 15 in Crimson. She knocked down those 2 free throws.
And that's quite a statistic. That tells you a little bit about her endurance, her resilience, and her value, because they don't take her off the floor because she does so much for the team.
Well, assuming good health, put it this way, Zakiya Franklin is going to play more than Lynette Woodard did when she was there. She's going to pass her in games played.
And I still to this day believe Lynette Woodard is the all-time greatest female basketball player to ever grace the sport, and a phenomenal ambassador for women's basketball. She does so much for the game and for young people, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Coach Woodard, and she can still hoop too, Shane, I can tell you that.
Whistle and a foul on Jayla Murray, who scored on the other end. Murray's had a kind of a triumphant return to the Shocker lineup. She has 7 points after she missed a couple of games.
And she's going to continue to find her groove, and get back. It's hard when you've missed 3 games, especially with an injury like hers.
And there's just the length of Jackson and very little else. Jackson just was able to jump higher than Murray and dumped it in with the left hand. She was the first player out here today, Tiana Jackson, working on her post move. Of course, she did miss the HCU game, so she probably wanted to get her legs back under her, but there she is, just gliding down the floor and laying it in.
And it's that part of her game that reminds me of Lisa Leslie, is her ability to run the floor, and the way they carry themselves. Their gait is so similar. She's like a gazelle.
She sure is.
She just took off. It wasn't like, and it looked so effortlessly, for her. Like it's not even a problem for her to, it's not another gear. That's just what she does.
And she may have gotten a fingertip on that Murray layup too. And at corner 3, there's a Franklin 3. She had one very early. She has one there, and it's been all Jayhawks here in the quarter. 30-second timeout trying to stop this avalanche of Jayhawk points. Tracy, that's 7 KU points in only 50 seconds.
Yeah, and you were hoping as a Shocker fan that you wouldn't see it, but this is how explosive this team is, and a little bit of everything. A 3, a transition bucket by your post player, your 6'6" post player. A good individual one-on-one move with your freshmen, so they can score in a variety of ways, and that's what makes them so dangerous. And so, how do you stop that? I mean, how do you stop that deluge? You really have to do it on the offensive end, believe it or not. You have to be very efficient. You have to, counteract. You got to take care of the basketball, and you got to use shot clock. And it's hard when a team is very good defensively. And I think, the Jayhawks came out at halftime and really upped their defensive pressure.
13-2, a run out of the locker room for KU. And overplay, great job by Cobbins to get over the top of her player. So lob was nearly impossible. This KU team is, if they've got a flaw, I don't know that we've seen it yet today. Franklin, another 3. That's good. Zakiya Franklin suddenly with 3 threes in the game.
And that was made by a great pass by the freshman Nichols, skipping the ball across the floor to the deep corner. Caught in rhythm, easy bucket.
And Morrow hits along too. And before you start getting upset that Zakiya Franklin's shooting threes, I'm sure the scouting report said love her.
Right.
She's 5 for 25 on the year, and she hit 3 today. A rare miss in the second and third quarters by a Jayhawk from the floor. Jackson misfired.
So against a really stingy man-to-man defense, you have to shift the ball left to right. You've got to get that defense to shift. If you allow them to just key off on you defensively.
Anaya Bell in there for the first time in the second half. She didn't appear in the first half. Knocked down a triple. She had 5 points against KU a year ago.
But this is what we've seen by Bell. She won't play in a half, and then she'll come in and she'll make the most of her minutes, however many there are. And you got to love that about her. She's kind of energetic.
Unbelievable. Franklin has 4 threes today. She came into the game with 5 all year.
I think that's when you kind of throw the scouting report in the trash and you just say maybe we should guard her because the basket's looking really big for her tonight.
Murray finishes with the left hand. She just had a solid game from the floor.
It's a nice left-handed scoop and a phenomenal pass by Thompson.
And Nichols answers. Boy, KU can just do it in so many different ways. Talk about throwing the scouting report out the window. The previous best game for Franklin from 3-point range, 2 makes.
Wow.
2. She got 4 today.
See, and look, and every time, Wichita State picks up the ball, they just increase the pressure.
Morrow missed her first 3 of the year. And they're going to get Jackson for backing Morrow all the way underneath the basket. So we were talking all kinds of things at halftime that KU had done well. They have tripled that, it seems like, here in the third quarter. And for all the things we thought Wichita State had to do to stay in the game, like you just said, now you got to kind of go back and start from scratch because this lead is ballooned up to 20.
But I love that piece of camera work by our cameraman on the arm length of Jackson behind the basket, so you can kind of see as a fan what the Shockers are going against in the defensive pressure of Jackson.
Bell creates on the sideline, or the baseline, I should say, came up hobbling a little bit, but should go to the free throw line. It's been tough to negotiate this KU defense, as we mentioned. The Shockers only shooting 35% against the KUD, but this is only the 8th and 9th trips to the free throw line, too. So if you got to grind it out every possession to score against Kansas and can't get to the free throw line and can't get out in transition, this is a predictable result.
Right. And, I really do believe that, the Shockers have played pretty well offensively. It's just, I think the Jayhawks, like I said, came out second half and really upped their intensity on the defensive end and made it very difficult to even initiate an offense. It's not that they were swinging the ball left and right. They were having trouble initiating the offense against the Jayhawk pressure.
Well, to kind of strip this down to the studs and tell you what's going on here, if you can't figure it out with your own two eyeballs, Kerskeeter couldn't knock down the three. But the turnovers are exactly the same. Wichita State has generated 11 more offensive rebounds than KU has.
Yes.
That's led to 8 more field goal attempts, but it just comes right down to KU is making more baskets than Wichita State. It's plain and simple.
Absolutely. And they're shooting, an incredible clip from the field.
22 of 35. KU, that's 63% after kind of a semi-slow start in the first quarter.
Right.
Kerskeeter puts it on the deck, and she's going to get called for an offensive foul. Kerskeeter only 1 3-pointer so far here today. She had one and then turned it down. She elected to drive to the basket. She's the 3rd most prolific 3-point shooter in Jayhawk history, and may want to rethink that strategy. She had an open look for 3 and didn't want it. Morrow got an open look for 3. Back tap to Morrow. In the keyhole, that wouldn't go. Morrow got a 3rd opportunity. Boy, Thompson almost traveled. Boy, Wichita State desperate for a bucket on this possession. They're going to get at least 4 chances at it. And an offensive foul on Abias. Well, it's been that kind of quarter, that kind of day for Wichita State after the first quarter. Been outscored 39-24 since the opening 10 minutes.
Yeah, and they just haven't been able to stop the bleeding. Sometimes, the team's able to score it well offensively. You need you need to be able to score. We're just trading offensive fouls. And that is a terrible turnover for teams. And a couple of things make that happen. We've had a lot of offensive fouls called on screens being set. And that's usually a 2-part system. Number one, the person is not set, they're moving, but a lot of times they're moving because the guard is too early coming off those ball screens, and that's what's creating the movement by the ball screener.
Final minute of the quarter, been dominated by the Jayhawks. And in particular, it's been dominated by Franklin. She created a shot for Mayberry that time that wouldn't go down. Franklin, 14 points on 4 of 6 from 3-point range. 2 rebounds, 2 assists for the all-everything point guard for KU.
And the Shockers have had a couple of opportunities for transition. They've just had errant passes. They're a little bit too quick giving the ball up.